Hello, I'm Armenia-Russia and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you all you need to know. In a recent statement, US State Secretary Antony Blinken said that, and I quote, "Russia is not a pariah, and for us, it's not so much the individuals, the personalities that count. It's the policy pursued by a country." End of quote. The remarks came in response to reports of Vladimir Putin potentially appearing at the next G20 summit. Earlier on, Blinken said that, and I quote once again, "The idea has never been to exclude Russia or Mr. Putin. It's the actions, it's the policy of Russia and of Mr. Putin that triggers what happens in terms of Russia's relations with the G20 or with the G7, with the world, in fact. So if the policy changes, we don't rule anything out." End of quote. Yikes. As you can see, Blinken is full of compassion and understanding for the great Russian nation. He was just lambasting Ukraine for attacks targeting Russia's oil refineries, and now he's all generous, saying that it's Putin who's the problem, rather than the Russians as a whole. If this isn't your first Break the Fake episode, you know full well how Tsar Putin is never imposing his sick ideology on anyone. The overwhelming majority of Russians fully agree with him, and they just try to preemptively fulfill the Kremlin's will, in fact. So, once the policy in Russia changes, Blinken is okay with the country returning back into the fold. But how is the policy supposed to change if 100 million Russians have had their heads packed with so much nonsense that it's indistinguishable from noise? Because how else can we explain this example from a Russian enlistment and draft office, where an exemplary wife brings her husband in, saying, "Why is he supposed to sit at home? We need to defend our country, our family." So she's okay with sending him off to war. Money is money, right? And with him at the front, that's one less mouth to feed.
Алена пришла вместе с мужем. Рассказывает, решение пойти на фронт он принял еще 2 года назад. Все это время готовил свою семью морально. И вот на днях подписал контракт с Министерством обороны.
Доводы привел очень хорошие. Как говорится, что дома сидеть? Нужно защищать страну, семью. А им всем удачи желаю и вернуться.
I guess the phrase "happy wife, happy life" takes on a totally new meaning in this case. Anyway, President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned that Russia is preparing another wave of mobilization, looking to bring an additional 300,000 soldiers into service, with the beginning of the operation scheduled for the 1st of June. But a media campaign promoting the effort might be underway already. Aside from the wife and husband duo we have just showed you, there is also this disabled veteran on a recruitment drive. "My grandpa, a war veteran, gave me this miracle. I may have lost my limbs, but I pulled through all right," says the mutilated veteran, encouraging kids to follow his example and go to war and occupy a foreign country.
Поговорить с детьми, обозначить, что сейчас и 100, и 200 тысяч лет идет эта война. Конкурентная борьба наций не прекращается ни одну секундочку. Если идет мир, это значит не мир, это подготовка к новому этапу ликвидации тебя, либо твоего внука, правнука. Что сделал ты сейчас, чтобы укрепить свой род, чтобы они могли в будущем через 10-20 лет выстоять? Мой дед, ветеран Великой Отечественной войны, чудом он успел, я живу чудом сейчас, успел меня наделить чем-то очень важным, что я ноги, руки потерял, но справился.
The Russians are a strange nation, with qualities you can't find anywhere else. And for some reason, they keep telling the people they either conquered or keep subordinate that they are somehow related. While the Belarusians might not agree, their potato king keeps them on a tight leash. The Spad satrap is trying to outsmart both Putler and the broader West, apparently. Since the start of the war, he's been supporting Russia, first by allowing Moscow's troops to use Belarusian soil as a springboard for the invasion and launchpad for its missile strikes. But if anyone asks, he'll still tell them he's neutral. Lukashenko cares very little for the fact that no one actually takes his nonsense seriously. Plus, in the 2 years of the war, he's exhausted whatever patience the Ukrainians might have had with him. Major Ilya Yevlash, the spokesman for the Ukrainian Air Force, said that if any missiles are launched at Ukraine from Belarusian territory, they will treat this as an attack and will respond. He added that the main intelligence directorate and the security service of Ukraine have proven time and time again that they were capable of operations beyond Ukraine's borders on the enemy soil.
Якщо зі сторони Білорусі почнуть в нашу сторону летіти якісь ракети, так, або взлітати літаки, які будуть атакувати нашу територію, звичайно, що ми готові до відбиття їх повітряного нападу. Наші сили вже, і мається на увазі Головного управління розвідки, так, Служби безпеки України, вони вже доказали і довели всьому світові, що вони можуть проводити унікальні спеціальні операції, вражати як і нафтоперероблювальні заводи, так і об'єкти їхньої інфраструктури, в тому числі льотної. Звичайно, що якщо буде загроза нашій території, ми будемо робити все необхідне для того, аби убезпечити наш повітряний простір, так і відбити атаки противника.
We don't really know what Lukashenko thinks about it. Perhaps he's convinced that his dog will protect him. Now, we dedicate this next voice from Russia to Antony Blinken, hoping it will help him get a clear picture of the Russia that he believes is no pariah and is ready to talk with. So, here it goes. In a recent appearance, Russian singer Yuri Loza said that he doesn't believe that the Earth is a sphere. He argued that aircraft fly across flat maps, ships cross the seas on flat maps. Even the UN logo shows the globe as flat.
И третье, это, конечно, то, что я твердо верю, что Земля не имеет форму шара.
Погодите. Вот глобус. Это то, что стоит на каждой школьной парте. Вот. Что, все не так?
Ну и настольные лампы стоят над каждой партой. Мало ли что стоит над каждой партой? Конечно, нет. Земля не имеет форму шара. Я со своей стороны всегда привожу определенные доказательства, доводы. Эмблема ООН – это карта плоской Земли.
The Russians are more likely to believe the Earth is flat rather than believe their empire has failed in any area. Maria Zakharova, the spokeswoman for the Russian Foreign Ministry, did not conceal her outrage at the words of the Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, who announced that his country would be freezing its relationship with the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the evil NATO, as we know it. Zakharova also said that any claim that Moscow and the CSTO did not offer any assistance to Armenia in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict is a lie. Now, Armenia's Prime Minister made his announcement several days ago, after saying that despite repeated appeals, Russia's NATO analog refused to help Armenia resolve its conflict with Azerbaijan. Pashinyan has been running this talking point for a while now. What he fails to mention in his laments, however, is that Azerbaijan is part of the organization, and that Azerbaijan's rights to the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh have never been questioned, not even by Armenia. The current tensions are a product of Armenia not withdrawing from several key villages between the Georgian border and a key land route, thus failing on a pledge made by Yerevan during peace talks. Nikol Pashinyan is a skilled politician and he's trying to exploit international turmoil for his own ends. He's getting arms deliveries from France, the European Union is promising him accession talks, and Russia's angry with him like a jealous wife. All in all, however, we're certain that Armenia will not only not abandon Russia, in a few years, it is likely to be back in its open arms. That's the history of the region. Armenia has been a close ally of Russia for centuries, and the individual performance of a single politician is not going to change that. And we best keep all of this in mind before sending any military aid to Armenia for whatever reason. Now, at a media briefing held on the 2nd of April, Stéphane Dujarric, the spokesman for the UN Secretary-General, called for an end to attacks on, wait for it, civilian infrastructure in Russia, responding to a question about the strike in Tatarstan. In an interesting twist, no similar calls on Russia to halt its campaign came from Dujarric after he noted that attacks on critical infrastructure in Ukraine have continued, forcing its people to seek assistance and aid from humanitarian workers across the embattled country. Now wait, so even the organization, established expressly for the purpose of protecting human rights, cannot see that, in simple terms, it's got everything about this whole situation backwards. And we have to just sit here and listen to its representatives compelling Ukraine to stop attacking legitimate Russian targets. How about we go back to 2014 and talk a little about who's responsible for starting the war in the Donbass and Lugansk regions of Ukraine? Who started the full-scale war? Which country is laying waste to the cities and towns of its neighbor, killing its people and abducting its children? Who's sending dozens of killer drones and cruise missiles into sleeping cities? Well, it's not Ukraine, is it now? Also, how could they claim a Shahed drone assembly plant is civilian infrastructure is anyone's guess. It is Russia that violated the UN Charter and attacked a neighboring state over made-up claims. And it's Russia that has a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. It's Russia that has veto power on the Council, which it has been using to continue the war and support autocratic allies across the world. But has the UN made any noise about that? Well, no, it didn't. You know, this thing we've mentioned a few moments ago about a Russian saying the UN has literally a flat Earth logo, maybe there is more to this than anyone is prepared to admit. If the Earth is flat, a Shahed can be a dove of peace, surely not? And with this, we end this episode of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates. I'm Jonasz Lewiński. Bye for now.